Okay, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna respect everybody's time. It's 2 minutes past. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I know we put this out to the Mortgage Center Network, but we also went out on social media. So there are people that are outside of Mortgage Center. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Rich Spence. I'm the president of Mortgage Center Canada, and I feel very fortunate to be here with one of Mortgage Center's best, one of what we call Mortgage Center Elite, where our top brokers across the country are in an elite group, and one of the top is Renee Hughes. And Renee is here with us. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you.
Renee did an amazing talk at MPC this year in Montreal. And the subject of that talk was how to go from 0 to 100 million in business. And it was very well received. I was in the audience. Some of you were probably there. And it was really, really, really good. And I personally thought it was a shame if the 120 people in that room got to see that presentation. So we're here again to give that presentation again, but in promoting it, I went online and described what I call the dentist model. I have an opportunity every day to talk to hundreds of agents across the country, and the repeated question I get all the time is, what is the most profitable way to run a mortgage agent business and scale it? And I always tell the story of that you don't want to be a mortgage agent, you want to be a dentist. And so I'm going to give the dentist story analogy. But what we're here about today is my story is really analogy. It's just kind of theoretically, how does a dentist run an office? But what Renee is going to provide is how Renee runs her business is following the dentist model. And she's been able to scale her business while still having time to have a busy ski schedule, and all our kids are skiers and still have a life, right? So here it is. I'll tell you what the dentist model is when you all have gone to a dentist, and when you go to a dentist, when you walk in that front door, somebody greets you, says, "Hey, Renee, great to see you. Welcome back." And they put you in the dentist chair. Okay. Then the dentist comes in and spends about 7 or 8 minutes with you and says, "Hey, Renee, how's your husband doing? How are the kids? Okay, we got to do a regular thing today. We're going to take good care of you." And the dentist leaves. A hygienist comes in and cleans your teeth. The x-ray technician comes in and takes your x-rays. And then the dentist comes back and says, "Hey, Renee, everything's great. Everything looks good. We took care of you. Everything's great. We'll see you next time." Then you leave, and then some CRM program in the back makes sure that you come back 6 months from now. And if you think about a mortgage business, sorry, let me finish the dentist. When you think about a dentist, on a 2-hour visit, the dentist has spent 14 minutes with you, and the staff has moved you along in the process to get that dentist appointment done. 90% of the revenue that the dentist earns goes to the dentist, and 10% is to run the operations. And when you think of the mortgage business, this is how you scale your business, okay? The receptionist is someone who's taking your applications, collecting your docs up front, okay? The overarching mind that's watching the business is you, okay? The hygienist and the x-ray technician is your underwriting team, and and then there's a fulfillment officer, and then there's a CRM component in the background. And as you move a file through that process, that's how you scale your team. So that's it in theory, and that's a nice little story, and it's fun, and it's ha ha ha. But Renee is going to take over from here and show how she's implemented in her business to go from a 0 to greater than 100 million. But I know the presentation is 0 to 100 million. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Renee. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Rich. And thanks everyone for being here. I'm always so just flattered that people want to hear this. So thanks everyone for being here today. I'm going to share my screen, okay? Just confirming everyone can see this, right? We're good, Rich?
Yeah, we are very good. And just one more housekeeping, guys. If you have questions down below on the chat, just type it into the chat, or there's a Q&A. We will compile those. Renee's presentation is what, Renee, about 30 minutes, 35 minutes?
Yeah.
At the end, we will answer all of your questions. So as you get them, just throw them in the chat and we will answer them. And we're good to go, Renee. I see it.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect. So I called this presentation. So, if you want to be a dentist with Renee and Rich. And so let's dive into it, guys. I'm going to move fairly quickly through this, but like Rich said, we did leave time for questions at the end. So ask all the questions. I tried to peel this back a little bit from my MPC talk because I was a little bit long-winded. So definitely ask questions if you guys want me to dive deeper into something specifically. So I want to start by saying the only reason I call it 0 to 100 million this talk is to try to get people to show up, because our whole industry loves to pound their chest about volume. But in the end, that's just a garbage thing to be talking about. You have to scale to units. Okay. So if you're only ever pounding your chest about volume, it's really hard to scale your business, because in the end, whether you're doing $1 million mortgage or $100,000 mortgage, we all know it's the same amount of work, right? So you really have to understand your units, okay? And my presentation is always units based if you ever hear me speak, and it's so that it can be relevant across the country. The inputs, just so that you know what I'm dealing with, so that you can kind of add my bias and my filters into this presentation. My business is primarily in Alberta. My average deal size is about $410,000 this year. I've been a mortgage broker for just about 8 years now. And my average deal size has ranged from 390 to 410. So it always hangs out in that $400,000 range. I do not own a brokerage. I am part of MMG Mortgages, a Mortgage Center Canada franchise. And we have top compensation almost everywhere. And so I never have to worry about where I'm placing deals. And I think that's really, really important, because it really allows me to focus on just my client experience, my efficiency. Like, I am not dealing with all the little bits of owning a brokerage or how to get top comp. That's all being dealt with by my broker owners. And I don't have to worry about any of that. So I just get to place my deals where they fit best. And the other thing that I want to just put into this presentation, because I think it's really important, is that I have 3 kids and a husband, and I always say I most of the time want to hang out with them. And so that's really important for me. And so when you're comparing your business or looking at how you want to scale your business, you really need to understand the inputs in the system. Where is that person in the country, and how many hours do they want to work in a week? I don't want to work 365 days a year, and I certainly don't want to work 80 hours a week. I ski, 60 plus days a year. I coach 2 basketball teams. It's super, super important to me that I have tons of extra time. So for me, I'm always going to go heavier on the staff side and heavier on time for myself. So that's just a bias. And I think you have to figure out what inputs you want to put into that system or that dentist office, when you're really setting up your own system. So let's dive into it. I want to just talk about what my goal is. It's not about ego. So I have no big ego where I need to be telling people what I'm doing. I have no altruistic, mentorship goals where I want to have hundreds of agents underneath me or anything like that. My goal is to make as much money as I possibly can in this business. I love the mortgage business, and it's the most unique opportunity. You guys, we are so fortunate with how much money we can make working from anywhere, from your basement at home, from an office, from the ski hill sometimes in my case. So my goal is always, what is the highest and best use of my time to make the most amount of money? Okay, so that's the bias in this presentation. So ChatGPT gave me this one. I love it. It's the dentist office.
Kind of scary though. There's a scary, weird vibe going on, but it's cool.
Anyway, so let's dive into it. There's 5 lessons or 5 real things that you have to implement into your business based on what I've learned trying to create the perfect dentist office over the last 5 years. I've really, really doubled down on systems and processes. So lesson 1 is that you've got to double down at what you're good at and hire it out. Lesson 2 is that you have to track and tag everything. Lesson 3 is that you have to automate as much as your business allows. Lesson 4 is that you have to kill feedback loops. And lesson 5 is that you have to map your client process and you cannot be scared to make a change. So I'm going to dive into these 5 points over the next 30 minutes. So hire it out and double down. It's really important when you're looking to hire that we think about these 5 points. And I'm going to dive into each of them in more detail. You have to be clear on your strengths and weaknesses. You have to cough up the money. Like if you're cheap and you don't want to spend any money at all, this is not the presentation for you. Like, and you also cannot scale your business unless you're willing to spend some money on staff. So like, you just have to wrap your head around that. We're going to talk about underwriters versus assistants. Rich and I don't agree on this, for the record. So you're going to hear my side of this. We're going to talk about contractors versus employees and communication systems for handoffs. Okay. So I want to talk about strengths and weaknesses. I feel like most of the mortgage brokers that I talk to that are in that kind of 15 to $30 million space, the only thing that they think of for help is fulfillment. And I'm going to challenge you to think that maybe that isn't actually the help that you need. And it's because you're not being honest with yourself about strengths and weaknesses. So I'll give you some examples. I am good at one thing, building trust quickly on the phone. And that is absolutely the only thing that I do in my business now, is I build trust quickly on the phone. And when I peel back my life, I'm 43 years old now. And when I peel back my life to when I started working at 21, I look at my career as a commodity trader. I look at my real estate investment career and property managing. The only thing that really ever shone for me was building trust quickly on the phone. And so as I've moved through my career, I've realized that if I'm ever doing anything that is not that, it is not the highest and best use of my time. But, you know, there are people on my team that is not the highest or best use of their time. They are amazing underwriters. And I talk to a lot of mortgage brokers that are amazing underwriters, and they're kind of awkward on the phone. And so should they be hiring a fulfillment person first? Probably not. They need a business development manager or an inside sales agent that's amazing on the phone, right? There's also a lot of people that I talk to that are really lost in their front end organization, their lead management organization. They maybe don't need somebody that's actually working in the mortgage documents. They need somebody that is in the front end of their deal, triaging their email and helping them organize their time so that they, as underwriters, have more time to spend on the fulfillment piece of their deal. And so I truly believe that in our industry, the minute you're busy and you're talking to your mentors, the first thing anyone says is, hey, you need a fulfillment person. You need someone doing your docs. I think honestly, in at least 50% of the time, that's bullshit. So if you want to double down on what you're good at, you need to get really clear on what it is that you're good at. So don't lie to yourself. Okay. It may not be sales. And in our industry, and a lot of the time, it isn't sales. So when we look at hiring it out, we need to get super clear on what we're good at. So for me, I know I build trust quickly on the phone. That's it. So if I'm doing things that aren't building trust quickly on the phone, I know that I need to get help. And so that's grown for me over the years. Underwriting was never what it was going to be for me. I can see a deal from a long ways away, but in terms of digging through policy and presenting a beautiful deal to a lender, that's not it for me. I'm not good at it. I'm much better at building trust with the client. So I knew really quickly I needed an underwriter on my team. What's interesting is that as I've grown, there's been other things that have had to be taken away from me. Like I love marketing and I'm pretty good at it. I do lots of video. If you follow me on Instagram, there's lots of video out there. About a year ago, I realized I was spending 20 hours a week editing video, filming video, making Instagram posts. Like that is not the highest and best use of my time. The only person that should be doing that is a marketing manager. So I made the big double down in my business to hire somebody else to give me back those 20 hours so I could get back to talking on the phone. And interestingly, my personal volume climbed very substantially this year because I had those 20 hours back to get back on the phone. I also want to challenge you to take this hire it out idea to the next level in your business. So I have different underwriters on my team. One of them is very, very, very strong at working the relationships with the lender and underwriting mortgages. Another one is really great with taking the deals end to end. They have really, really strong client management skills. So the underwriter that is really strong with the lenders that can underwrite very quickly, all of his deals are fulfilled by a fulfillment manager because it's not the highest and best use of his time to be involved in the deal after it's been approved, right? So I've taken it kind of to the next level as well, to not just look at myself, where am I using my time the best, but how can I do that for my staff as well, right? So super important to kind of next level that thinking as your business grows. I want to talk a little bit about underwriters because a lot of people will say to me, like, should I hire an underwriter? Like, should I have someone licensed or should I have an assistant? And so for me, I believe with 100% certainty that an underwriter was what I needed. And this is why, is because if you do not have somebody that can speak to clients, quote rates, speak to lenders, make decisions, you end up with single deal paralysis. So we've all had that deal that's going sideways on a Wednesday afternoon and it's COF and it's 12 p.m. and you need to have something by 5 p.m. and you're paralyzed. You can't do anything because you can't pick up your phone because God forbid the underwriter calls and you're not going to be able to have that conversation with them to get this deal approved, right? If you don't have somebody in your business that can actually make decisions and move a deal forward, you cannot be focused on what you are doing well. And so I believe wholeheartedly that if underwriting isn't going to be the thing that you do, like for me it isn't, you need to hire a licensed underwriter to truly level up your business to that next spot. I want to talk about coughing it up. So this was also, I really love the $55 bill that ChatGPT offered me in this one. I mean, it's just amazing.
There's still dark tones on these chat GPT. Like, it's just hey, Renee, I just wanted to add a couple of points in there because I get the questions is you talked about as soon as you added in a marketing manager, your business really scaled. One of our other MCC elites, they kind of sum it up as every single staff member they ever added to their team, their volume would jump by 30 million because they freed themselves up to get more business. So it was just a stat I wanted to add to what you were saying there.
That person that said that has been a huge mentor to me.
Yes. We're talking, anybody wants to know, we're talking about Mackenzie Garside. She's one of MCC's elite.
Yeah, she is amazing. And so, yeah, I just think getting yourself back those hours to focus on what you do best is so incredibly profitable. And for the record, this is the scary part. It costs money. You have to cough it up. And it is so scary to sign that job offer with somebody, right? And commit to paying somebody a salary. But actually, Rich said this to me as my team was growing and I was hiring people. You look at it and you're signing an offer for a year, right? And you're so scared, like, is this person going to work out? Is it the right choice? I don't know. Can they actually do what they said they can do? I'm not sure. Like, here's the truth of the matter. I have an amazing, amazing team. There's 10 of us on my team, but I've been through about 17 to get to 10 amazing people. And so, some of them have left me, some of them it hasn't worked out. But really, you're making a 1, 2, 3 month commitment to somebody to try each other out and see if it's going to be a fit, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like when you sign that salary letter, you can't be so focused on the annual salary. Think about it as a 1, 2, 3 month commitment to somebody to try to figure out if that relationship is going to work for the two of you, right?
Yeah, we're all entrepreneurs. I remember back when I ran a software company, if I didn't have a year's worth of expenses in the bank account, I thought I was bankrupt, right? So when you hire somebody, right, don't think you need to have that whole year's salary in the bank account to do it, right? Because that person will bring in business. So think in shorter terms.
Yeah. And so the long and the short of it is you have to get out of your own way if you are not willing to spend the money to hire good staff. And especially in Alberta in the last 3 years, guys, like Alberta's been rocking and rolling, right? Like it's been impossible to hire. And we don't have major lender underwriting centers really in Alberta. Like it is hard to hire staff. It's incredibly expensive. But honestly, like if you want to get back some time, just like spend time with your family, do the things that set your heart on fire with the people you love, like that's so important to me. And if you want to earn, like get back some of that time in your life, you've got to hire, you've got to invest the time in training. Like you've got to cough up both the financial commitment and the time to properly train somebody to build that capacity on your team. And so you just have to get out of your own way and accept that that's something that you have to do. And in the end, like I bet on me, I bet on myself that I can train these people and that I will be able to source more business doing the thing that I do best. If I have more capacity, and I promise you in 8 years, it's never been the wrong choice for me. So I'm so glad that I have done it. I want to talk a little bit about commissions versus salaries because this is a really common question that I get is how do you pay your people? And so I believe in paying people a salary, right? And this is why. When I was working for a salary, do you know what I was scared of losing? My job. And I think this like, hey, I'll give you 5 basis points on a deal. Hey, I'll give you 10 basis points on a deal. I mean, who cares? Sometimes that's $200 or $500. Like it's really hard to find an employee that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to work a little bit extra because I want to get that $200. Like it's really hard to find that, guys. You know what people want? They want a salary. They want to know what they're going to make every month. They're working as an employee because they don't want to be an entrepreneur like we are, right? And so I believe wholeheartedly in salaries. It makes people show up every day. You can count on the hours that they will be available to work. It makes your business more of a business. It's more predictable. So I believe in salaries. I always pay salaries. That's been very successful to me at Spire. And so that's my thoughts on that. This is just a pro tip that I have in every presentation that I do, because it was just like a frying pan to the face for me in my business. About 2 years ago, we were still calling our fulfillment folks or document specialists, client care managers. We had a bunch of different sort of names, but we were having balls dropped. And some of it was that there was just confusion on my team about who was responsible for what. Like I'm the person that's at the front end of the deal. So like if the first loss payable information is unknown to the client, why are they reaching back out to me at the 11th hour? And there's a scramble when their deal's already at the lawyer's office. Like what the heck? And so what we did is we said, anyone that picks up a deal from the time it's committed till the time it's funded is called a file manager. That's it. We changed the name. And so they understand on my team that if you are a file manager, you are taking that file from the time it's committed straight through to the time that we have a 5-star review from that client. That's it. It's funded. They've got their keys. We've got a 5-star review. You're taking it straight through. And the ownership has changed so much. Those people, they're the ones talking to the lawyers. They're the ones talking to the client. And I present them as the file manager that the client will be dealing with. And it has just been, a monumental change in our business, just changing that name to match the intense responsibility that comes, with that position on the team. So anyway, if you are going to hire that person in their business, give them a title that empowers them and explains exactly who they are to the client, and then introduce them to your client as a really empowered person that's going to be the main point of contact through the end of the file. Good. All right. Communication. If you are going to have a team, you absolutely need to have your communication systems broken down into 3 sections, so that you can communicate with your team in the best and sort of cleanest way possible, if you will. So long-term communication. Where are you saving your compliance documents, the client info? Different provinces have different regulations for this, but whether it's Teams or wherever, you need to have somewhere that you and your staff can access remotely from your phone and from your computer at all times. Okay, so where are you saving your long-term communication? where's your midterm communication? Like, where are the notes about the pre-approval intake call that you made, so that if you are handing that deal off to your staff, they know what the heck's going on, right? So where's your midterm communication? Maybe it's in your file management system like Velocity or something. Maybe it's in a CRM system, but you need to make sure it's clear, and you need to make sure, again, that you and your staff have access to that 24 hours a day. And short-term communication, where are you leaving the file notes about what's going on with that file? Like, hey, I talked to this client, I need to buy the rate down to stay competitive. Hey, this client only wants to put 5% down, not 10% down. And a text or like a flip of an email is probably not it, guys. You need something more organized. This is what I use, and I think it's really, use whatever you want, but I just share this openly. So Slack is where I do my short-term communication. So everybody is logged into Slack. There is a mobile app for Slack. It's available on desktop. And we create a different channel for every single deal that we work on. And the people that are involved in that deal are added to that channel, so that we can then archive that channel after that deal has been funded. So that's the way we use Slack. It's amazing. Again, once we implemented Slack about 2 years ago, balls just stopped being dropped on so many files. The CRM that I choose to use is HubSpot. It's because it's very customizable and very clickable, user-friendly. I've used lots of other CRMs over my time as a mortgage broker, but my sort of 5-year deep dive is with HubSpot. And I use Velocity. Obviously, I'm part of the DLCG family. I use Velocity for deal submission. And pro tip, even if you're not using Velocity as your CRM, I do use Gold Rush. And it's because in HubSpot, I drip my clients, and sometimes they unsubscribe, but they often haven't unsubscribed to Velocity. And so that Gold Rush like nudge about the mortgage renewal is very, very important. It's like sort of like a double opportunity to grab the clients. And so honestly, guys, like, it's amazing. All your stuff's in there. Those clients get dropped. This isn't even like a plug. Rich didn't even ask me to do that, but like, why not double down?
I
You
just
know?
put down, send you a gift for the
Yeah.
golden plug. Just
Yeah. Totally. So truthfully, like, whatever you're using, whether if it's not Velocity, maybe it's something else, why not double down and drip the clients from 2 different sources, because they often don't unsubscribe from both. So in the end, all I can say is figure out what you are good at, what your strength is, and double down on it. Anything else in your business that is taking you away from the thing that you are good at, you should not be doing. And I recognize it takes time to grow, right? Like, I didn't go from Lone Ranger to 10 people overnight, right? It's an 8-year journey, but definitely just keep telling yourself and keep a note of your time, right? Like, you have to track your time to even know where you're wasting it, right? All right, lesson 2. That was the longest one. Don't worry. If we have people asleep on the call, that was the longest piece. This speeds up from here. Track and tag everything. So I love data. So I next level tracking and tagging everything, but it's very, very important. So 1, you have to own your data. Okay. And owning it kind of means 2 things. 1, you want to make sure that you have spreadsheets that belong to you, not to your brokerage, about your deals, your leads, but also you have to have ownership of it. Like, take care of it and use it. That is literally your golden goose. It's what we work for. So own your data. And if you are not tracking, you are being lazy. Because honestly, if you are taking that client call, it takes 2 seconds to properly track and tag the outcomes from that client call. So you need to just think bigger, own that data, and take care of it. Do not be lazy. It is so hard to go backwards. Like, start today. Just start today, properly tracking all of your leads. You cannot fill the holes in your business if you don't know where they are. And the only way you're ever going to know where those holes are is if you track and tag what's going on with your leads. Okay. So this is the biggest thing. If you aren't tracking anything, this is the biggest thing that you can do in 2025 to make a change in your business. And I'll tell you what the outcome of that tracking is going to tell you. You need to track your lead to application ratio. So how many leads came in and how many applications did I get? And what is that ratio? And then you need to track your lead to fund ratio. Okay. So how many leads came in and how many mortgages actually paid me a commission. Okay. If your lead to application ratio is low, meaning you're talking to a ton of people on the phone, but you're not getting applications, you suck on the phone. I'm sorry. That's it. There's no other way to put it. So you know what you don't need? An underwriter. You need somebody that is way better on the phone than you are, or you need to invest in some sales courses. That's it. If your application to fund ratio is low, your follow-up is not strong enough. That means you're sending somebody a pre-approval and then forgetting them and not following up with them, or you are not adding any value at that pre-approval stage. So this is the example that I gave at MPC, and it's incredibly important. Like in my pre-approvals, since we heard there was going to be a change to that 30-year amortization on December 15th, my pre-approvals have included what you can do before December 15th and what you can do afterwards. And so if your pre-approval didn't include that and mine did, who showed more value, right? And so you need to make sure that you're tracking that stuff so that you can say, what am I doing wrong, right? And I track this down to like, you know, what lender did I send business to? What lenders was I able to renew my business with after they sat that lender for 5 years? Like, did I lose every single deal that I ever sent to that lender, you know, 5 years ago? Okay, that's good information to have, right? How did I do with the renewals from clients that I worked with 5 years ago? Did I do a crappy job? Maybe my follow-up over the last 5 years has sucked. Like, you have to be asking yourself all these questions and have the proper tracking in place so that you can get better at what you do. Here's 3 examples of how tracking has also allowed me to figure out where I want to spend money in my business. So for me, there's a large real estate team in 2022 that called me and asked me if they could start referring me. Okay. I track efficiency ratios. And so then I can track it back to where that lead came from. So I can track cancellations per referral partner. I can track commissions paid per referral partner. So like a lot of us are just tracking units referred, but what happened to those units? And so it's super interesting. About 9 months into this relationship with this real estate team, I started going, something doesn't feel right. And so I did a deep dive into every unit that they referred, and I had more cancellations from that team than anyone else. And when I looked at it, the team was making a weak referral to me. And those clients were shopping me all over town. And so, you know what? I made the decision to move away from that business, break up with that team completely. And my efficiency ratios then climbed at a number of lenders. And so it's so interesting. If I wasn't tracking that properly, I just would have said, wow, those guys sent me lots of leads. I should send them a Christmas gift. No thanks, time out. This is a disaster relationship and I needed out of it. And tracking is what allowed me to make that decision. The other thing, as I'm sure a lot of you just are inundated with asks for sponsorship money, like I'm constantly asked for like, hey, can you sponsor this? Hey, I'm doing a recruiting event. There's a bowling event, children's hospital. Like it's nonstop, right? From referral partners. And I'm super, super happy to help them. But if that referral partner sent me 5 leads and I made $1,000, I'm not giving them $1,500 in sponsorship money that year, right? So you need to understand how many leads did they send you? How hard did you have to work to close those mortgages? And how much did you actually make off them? Does it make sense, right? You know, and I have a current partner. I talked about this at MPC as well, because it was a mistake that I made this year. You know, this current referral partner is asking me for leads or for payment for leads. And I actually heard myself in the negotiation say, I think we only got a hold of like 20% of those leads. Like I said the words, I think. I mean, guys, I was dead in the water in that moment, right? There was no way that I was actually going to be able to negotiate. And so, you know, what I did, and this was about a year ago, this happened, is I created an actual drop down tag for every single lead that comes into my system so that I can say, that lead didn't answer. And I can say this exact percentage of leads that you sent me didn't answer. It was a waste of my time. This exact percentage of leads weren't interested. This exact percentage of leads was already working with someone else. And this exact percentage of leads already bought a home. So instead of just making notes on my file where I'd have to go back and dig through, like for, we take in like 1,400 leads a year. So like to dig through 1,400 calls and try to find my outcomes, well, that's not possible, right? I needed something where I could actually have a tag on those files and filter it into percentages so that I could negotiate, right? So like tracking and tagging as your business grows becomes massive. And this is just talking about referral partners. Like think about your staff. If you have 3 underwriters, how many deals did each underwriter pick up? Is that tracked? Is that tagged? Do you know? Like you really need to be able to know what's going on in your business. I cannot stress this enough. Anything to add on tracking and tagging, Rich?
No, I was just I'm looking at the questions lining up, so I just want to make sure you've got like 10 minutes, and then we'll do some questions.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go really fast through this one. Automate as much as your business allows. Okay, I'm gonna just automation is super, super overwhelming to people. So this is where you start, guys. There's 2 types of communication to clients. Always the same. Well, there's really 3 types. There's custom, but we're not going to talk about that because there's no automating in custom communication. But always the same or the same but different. Okay. If something is always the same, it can be automated. So think about the lateral movement of a mortgage. I'm going to do this pushing motion, right? Because you're pushing to the right. A new lead comes in. You get it pre-approved. There's a live deal. It's funded. That's the same every single time. Think about renewals, 5 years out, 4 years out, 3 years out, 1 year out, 145 days out, renewed. You're always pushing laterally, right? And those deal stages, they just don't change, right? And so when you're thinking about always the same, it's very much a deal stage notification. So thank you for the referral. Why is that not automated? If a lead comes into your system, why is there not an automated thank you that goes out to your referral partner? I've connected with your referral. You don't need to send that email. That can all be automated. I have sent you an application, but you haven't yet filled it out. Automated, right? Those aren't things that need to be different. That's always the same communication. So when you're thinking in your own process about how can I create automation? How can I create efficiency? It's all about figuring out what is the same for every transaction. Okay, that's the question you're asking yourself about that communication. What is always the same? Okay, so that should be automated. And if you have a CRM that does not allow for automatic deal submissions, get a new CRM, period. Not deal submissions, deal notifications, sorry. Get a new CRM. That's the end of it. It has to be automated in order for you to be able to grow. The same but different, that is a template, right? I actually took my slides out about this. I'll have opportunities for you guys to talk to me later about this, but I have hundreds of templates that are at different deal stages, like hundreds of different, hey, I talked to you, these are the documents I need to get an application going from you. Hey, you're pre-approved, this is what it should look like. I have hundreds of templates. I never write the same email twice without making it a template, okay? That is the same, but different, right? You know that it's going to be similar, and you might have to just add the rate, the volume, these sorts of things, right? Templates are your friend. Anything where you're writing an email for a second time needs to be a template. Okay. Are we good, Rich? 2 more, real fast. Killing feedback loops. So it's funny.
5 minutes, Renee. 5 minutes.
Okay. I talked to a mortgage broker recently, and he was like, this is my favorite thing you've ever said, is killing feedback loops. So I always joke, like, if you are doing anything that could result in a return email or a return phone call, you're doing it wrong. Like, I don't send you an email because I want to hear back from you. I'm sending you an email because it's like, here it is, done. I'm like, if I want to talk to you about how your day is going, I'll pick up the phone and call you. But like, no, I don't want to send anything that's creating a feedback loop in my business. You have to shut down feedback loops in order to increase your volume. So how do I do that in my business? I use video. Okay. And it's not marketing video. Like, yes, I have my Instagram reels and all that stuff. That is not the kind of video I'm talking about. I am talking about one-to-one personalized video. And this is what I use it for. Pre-approval. If I send somebody a pre-approval email, I say, you are pre-approved at this rate, but I reassure them in that video about the rate. How many of you are going back and forth when you put a rate hold in for somebody and they're like, yeah, but I saw this and I might want variable, I might want fixed. Like, if you know the client is rate sensitive, take 30 seconds of your day, send them a video with the pre-approval email so that they understand you've got their back, right? How about the client that's like, can you run this pre-approval with 10,000 down, 20,000 down, 30,000 down? Like, give me a break. You know what? You want all those you want all those scenarios? Here's the video. Here's my mortgage calculator. Jump on my website anytime. Here's my MCC Home Center app, right? No problem. Like, that's how you use it. Approval videos. It takes me 7 minutes to go through that approval video with the clients. I actually had a call from DocuSign when I renewed, and they were like, what are you doing? This is DocuSign, like globally. They called me to say, how are so many people signing your DocuSign packages? You have one of the highest signing percentages of anyone we've ever seen, because everyone signs. Do you know why? I screen cap those documents. I spend 7 minutes of my time and I send it in video, and then everyone signs. And I won't take a call with that client until they've reviewed the video. I use Vidyard to do it. I can see if you've only watched 40% of the video, I will not take your call. And you know what? When I say, please watch the full video and give me a call, they usually email back and say, thanks, you answered all our questions. Kill the feedback loops. Same thing with documents. Like, hey, Johnny, I need your bank statement. Your name isn't on the top right-hand side. Like, instead of just going back and forth with an email 7 times, send him a video and show him that on his BMO bank statement, there's no name on the top right-hand corner. Guaranteed, Johnny's going to be like, oh, no problem. I'll send that back, right? Just kill those feedback loops as much as you can. And just, other examples, think about co-signers, couples, clients in different places. Like, why are you having multiple calls about the approval? Send a video. They can review it in their own time, right? And finally, your client process map. So I think a lot of people don't know what a client process map is. This is what it is. What are you promising your client? What are you promising your staff? And whose ass is on the line if that doesn't happen? That's what your client process map is. Mine is usually, I'm going to say it's probably at 8 pages now. It's an 8-page Word document about handoffs between who's responsible for what. And I promise you, I rip that thing to shreds every 6 months. In fact, I'm bringing in lunch for my team on Wednesday of this week to sit down and rip it apart again for 2025. And so I think that when we look at client process, a lot of people think like, oh, it's my CRM. No, it is a deep dive right from the moment that referral comes right through renewal with that client on who is responsible for each step in the process, how long should each step take, what promises are you making to the client about that timeline, and if it doesn't happen, whose responsibility is it to make sure that it gets back on track, right? And so, my dirty secret is just that I rip mine apart every 6 months. There's, my staff jokes all the time. We have this boardroom at Spire, and I just like do a table flip. Something will go wrong, and I'm like, that's it. We're sitting down. We're going through this thing start to finish. And, so even at, 8 years in, this is my life's work. I put, you can tell I'm so passionate about this. I rip that thing to shreds every 6 months. So, in summary, the 5 things that I think you really need to do if you want to be a really great dentist are hire it out and double down, track and tag everything, automate as much as you can, eliminate feedback loops, preferably with video, and map your client process, and don't be afraid to change it. So that's it.
Standing ovation. Very good, Renee. Thank you so much.